Welcome to the Nano podcast. I'm your host, Will Chernlin, and I'm excited to have you join me on this journey through the world of nano companies. For the past decade, I've talked to thousands of business owners across various industries. It's been an enlightening experience revealing the vast tapestries of entrepreneurship and innovation that thrives beneath the surface of mainstream media coverage. Each week, I will interview different leaders of nano-cap publicly traded companies to learn about their history, what they do now, and their future. As a reminder, none of this information is financial advice, and it is all for entertainment purposes only. Let's start this week's episode. Hi, everyone. This week we have Joel Latham, CEO of Incannex Healthcare, stock ticker IXHL. Incannex is a science-led combination medicines company focused on the rapid development of oral fixed-dose treatments and therapeutic regimes for people living with challenging chronic conditions. Joel, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Will. Pleasure to be here.
So, Joel, I was kind of looking through your LinkedIn and such as I do my research, and I saw you working at some kind of consumer-type brands like Philip Morris and Mars and such. And then kind of tell me about your career kind of up to this, and then what it was like when you got the call saying, hey, we got this new company that we want you to be a major part of, and kind of what got you excited about it.
Yeah, definitely. So my career to date, I have a diverse range of experience working for a range of multinational, publicly traded companies in various different sectors, really giving me cross-functional experience that has set me up to the point that we're at today. So I've been with Incannex coming up 10 years. Prior to Incannex, I have 10 years experience across other firms, so 20 years experience total. And leading into Incannex, I knew that this company was different. So prior to being an employee, I was actually an investor. So this really gave me great conviction in the company and the strategy, which is why I've really had so much drive to push the company forward.
And so as you talked about working with these large multinational companies that are publicly traded, and then Mars, one of the largest privately traded companies, what did you kind of learn from the culture from these publicly traded companies and how they have to kind of mind their P's and Q's because they know everything's public compared to Mars, where they might be able to think maybe more long-term because they're not worried about each quarterly earnings? What did you kind of learn from both as you came into this new role, and what kind of stood out to you?
Yeah, it was a learning experience across all companies that I've worked at in the various different sectors. The key point for me was understanding disruption and being able to implement that in future roles moving forward. If you look at the companies that I've worked for previously, they've been key disruptors in their space and they've been leaders in their sector. So what that has done is really set me up for success to be able to utilize the cross-functional experience that I gained at these firms to be able to implement into my role as CEO at Incannex and really challenge the paradigm and the status quo of what's really being delivered in drug development for novel pharmaceuticals previously.
So yeah, what about the disruption that Incannex kind of brings to the table that got you to invest at first and then say, hey, I don't want to only invest, I want to actually be a part of the team because I really believe in this?
Yeah, so the business was vastly different when I joined Incannex approximately 10 years ago. Oh, wow. Unfortunately, the business wasn't performing well the first 2 years after it went public on the ASX. And so there were some various changes that were implemented at the time. And I'm grateful for the board of directors of Incannex giving me the opportunity to be CEO. So I was the general manager for a period of 2 years, and that really gave me the operational insight that helped guide the direction and momentum of the business moving forward. Once I took over the position, we revamped the company. We implemented a revised strategy that really aimed at disrupting the novel drug development space and build out a robust team to assist in implementing this strategy. And I'm pleased to say, from where we were at that point in time to where we are now, vastly different. So, and we have some exciting moments coming up with some of our lead assets moving forward. So it's a good time to be a part of Incannex, and we're looking forward to bringing shareholders along this journey with us.
Yeah, so I danced around it a little bit, but in your own words, what is Incannex?
So Incannex is essentially where, if we look at our competitive advantage, it really lies within developing novel combination drug therapies that address significant unmet needs. So our focus is combining FDA-approved pharmaceuticals with cannabinoids or psychedelics that positions us uniquely within the biotech space. So this approach allows us to leverage known safety profiles while exploring powerful synergistic effects and ultimately accelerating development timelines and de-risking our clinical programs. Strategically, we're building a pipeline with multiple shots on goal, all backed by robust scientific rationale and supported by high-quality clinical research. Our lead asset, IXHL for obstructive sleep apnea, exemplifies this. It targets billions of people. It's a multi-billion-dollar addressable market with no primary FDA-approved pharmaceutical treatment options available. Beyond this, we have a psychedelic therapy program which addresses a complex condition like generalized anxiety disorder. And we also have another lead cannabinoid asset targeting rheumatoid arthritis. So overall, our vision is to be a global leader in the development of combination therapies that transform the standard of care. We are deeply focused on clinical validation, regulatory clarity, and commercial viability. So we ensure that all of our programs that we're advancing are built on real-world impact potential. Importantly, we're doing this with shareholders front of mind through disciplined capital deployment and a business model deployed to create long-term value.
So I'd like to back up a second and talk a little bit more about your kind of CPAP alternative for people who have sleep apnea. So is that more on the psychedelic spectrum or more on the cannabinoid spectrum, your solution for that?
Our solution is on the cannabinoid spectrum for IXHL targeting obstructive sleep apnea. So it's a combination product of dronabinol and acetazolamide. So this novel drug has been created to target two different mechanisms of action to reduce obstructive sleep apnea. So we hypothesized by targeting two different mechanisms of action, we would be able to achieve synergism and be able to deliver enhanced research outcomes and far greater efficacious results for our patients, which we've been able to demonstrate in an earlier stage phase 2 trial. And I'm also pleased to report that we've recently completed a pivotal phase 2 trial under an opened IND with the FDA. We've completed dosing and we're set to be able to deliver top-line data to the market in July this year. So without a doubt, an extremely exciting milestone for the company coming up in July.
So one of the things I heard you mention in other interviews, one of the problems with CPAP machines, one of the biggest problems is that people just don't use them because they are so cumbersome and annoying to put on, and that the biggest problem is that people get prescribed them and just not use them, where your solution is some sort of capsule pill that's a lot easier. Do you get any sort of credit as you're going through the FDA approval that you may help more people just because it's easier opposed to them having to buy this large machine and turn it on and it's loud and annoying and no one wants to look like that, but they kiss their wife goodnight and all that type of stuff? Do you get any sort of credit for just being an easier solution for people, even if it is maybe not as efficacious?
Not particularly from a regulatory standpoint, but this is something that the investment community, shareholders, and the broader market factors in, because we're looking at a multi-billion-dollar addressable market where the primary standard of care is a device, and the device has been known to have an extremely high non-compliance rate for patients. So when looking at this, we've provided a potential solution that is going to disrupt this multi-billion-dollar addressable market. And if you look at it from a patient perspective, which is what we do a lot of the time when developing our assets, is we put the patients first. So when reverse engineering this, when creating a combination soft gel capsule to be administered prior to going to bed, we looked at what was going to be the best solution for patients. We look at a cumbersome process of using a device to treat obstructive sleep apnea, which is efficacious but does have a non-compliance rate. Or if we're able to deliver a drug, a pharmaceutical solution here that is as efficacious, if not greater, and has and removes the barriers to entry and is a soft gel capsule that is taken before bed, we know what option that the patients are going to tend to gravitate towards to. So this is why we're extremely excited about this asset, where we've put a lot of work into getting this program to the point that it's at right now, and we're weeks away from being able to deliver positive data, top-line data to the market. So I think that at this point in time, the market will really factor in the true value of this asset once we continue to de-risk and what we hope to be positive data that we deliver to the market in July.
Yeah, it's exciting to interview you, since I've talked to a lot of biotech companies in the past, but sometimes they're a solution to a side effect or something kind of that's abstract. And yours is a lot more simple, where I know it's not as simple as this, but it's like taking a vitamin D pill instead of having to buy a tanning bed.
Exactly.
Like it's instead of having this big cumbersome process, you can just fit it into your normal daily routine. Before we move into the psychedelics side of things, I would like to hear a little bit more about just kind of what are you finding in the cannabinoids that tends to be the kind of the common denominator between all the solutions you guys are maybe looking at, since you guys have this long pipeline of maybe all these different possibilities of products you'll be coming out with. Is it have to do with like muscle relaxation that helps you with the CPAP, or what's the actual like thing that's going on in your body that you're looking at that you're like, hey, this might be able to solve a few different things?
Yeah, so it's really mechanism of action, and how the cannabinoid and how the body reacts to the specific cannabinoid. So it's important to note that all of our drug constituents are synthetic, so all developed synthetically in a lab and have been validated over time. We're not waiting for crops to grow. So we like to remove ourselves from that kind of medicinal cannabis sector, because we really do develop novel assets that with the same rigor and scientific validation of a new molecular entity through the clinic. So for us, it's really about identifying the right cannabinoid that will have the correct approach and treat the indication that we're targeting. Then we look to pair the cannabinoid or the psychedelic with another pharmaceutical compound that has an existing body of research and has a safety profile that we're able to bridge to, potentially shortening our time to commercialization and registration. So we look to target the 505(b)(2) pathway with the FDA, which is an accelerated pathway option. So with our strategy of combining two compounds, we're looking to target two different mechanisms of action to achieve enhanced research outcomes. So for us, with cannabinoids, we look at dronabinol to treat obstructive sleep apnea, because dronabinol binds to the cannabinoid pathways and expands and dilates airways, which makes it easier for the patient to breathe, which works well when looking at and targeting obstructive sleep apnea. Then acetazolamide, which is the drug that we combine with the cannabinoid, increases metabolic acidosis, which essentially signals to the body that there is excess CO2 in the blood, which induces the taking of a breath. So when we combine these two different mechanisms, we're able to reduce the apnea-hypopnea index when treating obstructive sleep apnea. And then similar with our other assets as well. It's really about targeting two different mechanisms for reducing the effects of the indication that we're targeting.
So between the cannabinoids and the psychedelics, why do the two-prong approach? What are the synergies that you find that having kind of two different things that you're using as your base, and then combining another pharmaceutical on top of it? Why are these two bases? Are you going to add more bases in the future, or is that the wrong way to look at it, or how would you see it?
No, so we're not going to add more bases into the future. We focus on combination therapies. We believe that by utilizing two mechanisms to reduce the effects of the indication that we're targeting has the greatest therapeutic benefit. And for us, it's about finding that sweet spot of combining the two drugs together to increase synergism and have a greater therapeutic outcome. So for us, we won't be looking to add additional bases to our core combination products in the future, but we have a platform system that we have created with an asset portfolio that we can continue to build on over time. The focus at the moment, without a doubt, is on our three core assets that we have under development, but that's not to say that we won't be advancing other combination therapies in the future once we continue to have success with the core three assets that we have under development currently.
Yeah, so let's talk about those other two assets. We talked about the sleep apnea solution. Can you tell me a little bit more about the other two assets you're working on and focusing your time on?
Yeah, definitely. So our key asset, without a doubt, which we've spent a bit of time talking on, is IXHL 4-2X. That's our primary focus at the moment. We have pivotal phase 2 data due in several weeks' time, which is really exciting for the company. And then our secondary assets that we have under development at the moment is a psychedelic associated asset where we look to utilize psilocybin in combination with psychotherapy to target generalized anxiety disorder. This, again, is an exciting asset that has been completely de-risked. We delivered positive phase 2 data to the market last year. And when comparing to our peers, it puts us in quite a favorable position to continue to advance this asset. We're at the point now where we have received IND clearance from the FDA, and we're scaling into a larger phase 2 study, which will be conducted in the US. So I really think that the market is undervaluing this asset as well, given the positive results that we've been able to deliver to market. And if you look at our market cap and you look at some of our peers in the psychedelic sector and the results that we've delivered, there is a clear disparity between where we're currently trading at and where our peers are. So we're excited to be able to bridge that gap. And then finally, our third lead asset targets rheumatoid arthritis. So it's a cannabinoid combination product that targets two different pathways to reduce inflammation within the body. Again, this asset has been completely de-risked. We have delivered a plethora of positive results, both in a preclinical and a clinical setting, which really does set the company up for success and be able to and it enables us to be able to fast track the development of this cannabinoid asset into IND opening studies in the US as well. So across the board, as I mentioned there, we have multiple shots on goal for each of our assets that have been de-risked, which should remove any of the unsurety for the broader investment community, knowing that we can rapidly advance these assets and hopefully deliver positive results to the market and create shareholder value over time and really change the lives of patients that are suffering from the indications that we're targeting.
It's very exciting stuff. You have the three different categories, very large TAMs. It seems like these are kind of the most common medical things that people may have to deal with. And so, no, there's a lot of people you could help out there. So you've kind of answered my last question, but what gets you excited to get out of bed in the morning to work on this? And what does the company look like in 5 years?
What gets me excited is the competition. I have the drive to be able to ensure this company delivers. And what I mean when I say that, ensure the company delivers, and that's a two-pronged approach. I want to ensure the company delivers to shareholders, first and foremost, and provide a favourable outcome. I, myself, am a shareholder, first and foremost, and live and breathe this company. Second of all, what drives us, me and the rest of the team internally, is providing an outcome for shareholders, for patients that are favourable. There are millions of patients that are suffering from the indications that we're targeting every year. As you mentioned, there are huge TAMs that we're going after, which if we're successful in the clinic and the regulatory front, those TAMs will be able to obtain a large portion of that. But the key focus for us is really being able to disrupt the current treatment options that are available for patients, being able to target millions of patients annually that are having their indications not treated adequately. So that's something that drives us and continues to fuel the fire and what motivates myself and the team to be able to not only deliver a favourable outcome for shareholders, but a great outcome for millions of patients that are suffering from these indications globally. So fast forward 5 years' time, we hope and we expect to be in a very different position as to where we are right now. In an ideal scenario, we'd hope to have IXHL 4-2X as a registered FDA therapy, oral therapy to treat obstructive sleep apnea. It's our goal to be the first company to have an approved oral pharmaceutical treatment for obstructive sleep apnea. So if we fast forward 5 years, that's where we expect and we hope to be, and that's the goal of the company. Then we look at the other assets. There's potential to have other registered therapies with the FDA in time as well. So we go from being where we are right now to being a leader in the biotech space. I look at ourselves as a company leading the way now because we are disrupting the way patients are being treated, and we're targeting two emerging sectors, being cannabinoid and psychedelic research. So we look forward to normalizing these two sectors, and I firmly believe that Incannex is leading the way in doing this, and we have an exciting 5 years ahead of us. So I look forward to providing a favourable outcome for shareholders again, and having patients follow our story, and it's going to be an exciting 5 years.
If patients or investors want to hear more about Incannex, where should I send them?
Please send them to our website, www.incannex.com. Please feel free to reach out to the Contact Us tab on our website as well. We have an investor relations team that is open and always willing to answer any questions that any potential investors or patients may have. We have an open door policy, so always willing to work with investors and patients. So please feel free to reach out, and if there's any further information we can provide, please do so.
Awesome. Well, Joel, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. And for those of you still listening, please remember to subscribe and review. Thanks.
This podcast is for informational purposes only and does not provide financial, legal, or any other advice. The information is not investment advice or any offer to buy or sell any securities or to make any investment. The views expressed by the guests are their own, and any reference to third-party products, services, or information does not constitute an endorsement therefore by NanoCap Podcast or its affiliates. The NanoCap Podcast express disclaims all liability for any individual's use of the information presented